Hey, Abby. Can doth hear me?
Hello.
Hey, cool.
Hey,
Good,
how's it
good.
going?
You know, um, I'm getting a little restless.
I think you just have to jog in place.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Just fucking jog in place, Phil. It's,
Can you hear me okay? Is it coming through all right?
yeah, let me see with the chat if it's coming through all right for them. Can you guys hear Abby? Okay. Can you talk for a second?
Yes. Hi guys. I impulse decided to walk around Manhattan, so I'm calling you live from Manhattan.
East Coast, West Coast elite.
Exactly. I wanted to bring some culture into your live stream. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. It was in desperate need of the culture.
uh, as I walk through.
What's Manhattan look like right now?
Um, it's like it's basically back to normal. I mean, there's like, you know, like gay men on the train saying things like gay men say on the train.
which
I'm
is
um, it's all affect. It's very hard to hear what they're actually saying. It's all posturing. I mean, besides that, for a while I was walking behind a couple.
Hello. You're cutting out, I think. You've cut out entirely, Abby. You might have actually dropped from the call. Yep, Abby dropped from the call. And she's back.
Sorry about that. Can you
Oh,
hear
no
me?
worries. No worries. Yeah, yeah, you're back. It must be all the buildings there. They're blocking the 5G connections.
No, yeah. Well, I have a chip, so from my Johnson & Johnson vaccine, so that really shouldn't be a problem anymore.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, I'll be honest, that you're getting any connection
Yeah, I
issues.
think it's I think it's my very human hit on my cheek that closed out the meeting.
You need to be less human.
Yeah,
Margot said that you do an
to be
awful
less
gay
human.
man impression.
Yeah, give no. I'm going back to what I originally promised I would talk to you about, which is uh, yeah, no, you're not gonna. All 30 of our poor friends don't have to hear that. But anyway, so what I wanted to talk about is a conversation you and I have um, basically once a week
Uh-huh.
since I started being friends, which is just the struggle to
You're cutting out a bit,
or
Abby.
do you want me to? I can stand still.
Yeah, maybe uh, hug the 5G tower that you're next to.
Yeah, okay. Well, this is a quiet street, so this should be okay.
Perfect, cool.
Um, so yeah, I mean, so this is a conversation we've had like once a week since we became friends, and it's, you know, if you if you are a new media artist by your own choosing, or people tell you that that is what you do,
Uh-huh.
um, there's a struggle to balance all of the different media that you're using for your artwork. And I think you put it the most succinctly, which is, if you're making an artwork around a video game, you can make a bad video game but a good piece of art, or a good video game, or good video game and a bad piece of art. And
Mm-hmm.
so and this came up again because you're using the platform of a live streamer, and you need to fulfill your role as a live streamer in the same step that you're making an artwork, or else you're just sort of, I don't know, like profiteering. I don't know. So that's kind of my setup. I don't know if you have.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, right, like the fear is, and I have this fear with almost everything that I make that like isn't explicitly in one and I'm gonna say it again, the word that the sleeper cell seems to hate, like in one ontological space, right? Like it doesn't occupy one being. It can be thought of as a game, like you just use as an example, and an artwork. And like when you do something like that, it like runs the risk of being bad at one and good at the other, or mediocre at both. And that's like maybe the more terrifying thing. Like, uh, I guess the easier way to think about it is like it becomes one becomes the crutch for the other. Um, and like that's not something that I'm interested in whatsoever. Like I'm I'm trying to like I want to strive to make something that will like not sit neatly within both of the things that I'm pulling from. Like in this case, Twitch streaming, gaming, and like the lineage of performance art, but like can be thought of on both of the things terms and like work within those terms, uh, or like be generated within those terms. And there's like nothing scarier to me than like making something that is like half good at both things, or like worse, uh, bad art but good Twitch stream. And therefore, like when it's being defended as an artwork, it can be like, oh well, it might not be a good artwork, like, but it's an interesting Twitch stream, so it makes it an interesting artwork. I'm basically puppeting what you just said.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I said is very based on things you've told me. I mean, and it's interesting, like, it actually raises the bar of what an interdisciplinary artist really should be doing, which is that they should be masters of both.
Right.
And something that's and I guess bracketing that, something that's interesting to me is that you like these things. It
Right.
isn't. It isn't like it isn't just material. Like you do sincerely like screens and play.
You just muted yourself, Abby.
I'm muted.
Yeah,
Can
you're
you hear
back
me
now.
now?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. It's that damn human cheek of mine.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's what makes it compelling is that you're a natural figure in these spaces where very often I find that people who are considered new media are like observers and like sleuths and documentarians of different media in service of their artwork. And I think that very often fails, and it kind of it makes them a salesman. I don't know.
yeah. Um, that's kind of hard, right? Because like I think about some of my favorite John Rothman work, and he like in interviews back in the day called himself a documentarian, and I can fuck with that vision a little bit. There's at some points where it falls off, and by that I mean like he called himself the thing you're talking about, which is like uh, someone using uh, another culture within their work to service the work itself, and not particularly to service the culture they're pulling from. Always, sometimes it is the case that it does do both, and it sort of works at times, I think. But I think I don't know. I can't speak to him, but like the key thing for me is like to like the thing that you're pulling from in some capacity, right? Whether you're involved in it or not. I guess it's just important to be like to have some sort of affinity towards it, because I'm down with being critical about video games and about different things that I do because I care about them a lot. And I think when criticality comes from a place of just like not really being that interested in the betterment of the thing, it becomes I don't know, like I don't care as much, right? When someone's being critical because they hate the thing rather than being critical because like they have some sort of I don't know, it becomes a less interesting take maybe, or it's easier to be critical of things that you don't like. Seed said that John Rothman is not a gamer. I agree. He's not a gamer. I feel like I'm blabbering on at this point. You're muted, Abby.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. No, I was saying that the John Raff Intellectuals needs to start pulling that card. That he's just simply not a gamer.
yeah, he's not. Maybe that's his worst offense.
His worst offense. Yeah, like I'm gonna report him to the police for not being a gamer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and tank his career. So that I may take that slot at the gallery show.
Yeah.
I mean, and I think that's like, I mean, something I'm interested in maybe like broadly in this project and all of the things we do as a community is just that I live here, like that, like, I was joking about the Pavlov's dog of, listening to the wow ka-ching noise, but like, I do consider that a place I grew up.
Yeah.
And I think there's a kind of like needless alienation for a lot of new media artists where they just they're kind of so obsessed with the new that like that there's a whole side of it of just like, no, this is real. This is, I don't know. It just seems like a missed opportunity.
Fully. My friend Mark, at one point, who's a new media artist or works with new media, said that like, and I think Brad makes fun of this a lot too, like there's the obsession in new media to like constantly go fast, like, and go faster and faster, without like just, I don't know, like we move past new technologies, for instance, in a matter of months, right? Like the new media artist makes the work with the new tech and then is just like and then goes on to the next thing, which is like a missed opportunity to sit with it for a minute, right? Like VR, I think, is a great example of this, and maybe it's not particularly an interesting format of making work because of like its limitations. I think people have not done very much with it on its own terms yet, and we've, like, as a culture, maybe as a capital A art world, moved past it as like a valuable way of making meaning, that I don't entirely agree with. And like this happens with all new media shit, right?
I mean, I think it's a situation where it's like, it's probably better to be like a rear guard instead of the avant-garde.
Yeah, absolutely. Rather than on the bleeding edge, be on the back edge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do the cutting. Do the, at least with this stuff. With other stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Tom says, be the first artist to use VR, be the first artist to stream from a bed, be the first artist to use Raytheon drones, be ...
No, I mean, like, one of my friends, like, he always makes this joke that, you used to like watch TV in bed, and now you bring TV in bed with you because you can just watch it on your laptop.
Right. Yeah, totally. I mean, when I first started talking about bed PC with my friend Jenny a while ago, she has toyed around with making like furniture with PCs embedded in it, as well, and we like talked about potentially doing something together. And one of the things that we both like talked about is like her work is confronting the like very real and like honest truth that like we spend a lot of times with our screens, and that there's a certain level of like what's the word, people like feel guilt for that. They're like afraid to admit that like we spend as much time with our screens as we do. And like there's been a lot of writing about, in fact, like somebody in DNR I think wrote about, maybe not for DNR, but like screens. Yeah, it was for DNR, right? Noah Allaire, didn't he write something about?
Right. Yes.
And like the the nature of like the like iPhone telling you how much time you spend on it, etc. But like the to go back to the previous point, the thing that we both, Jenny and I, agreed on was like, oh, like we spend so much time with specific screens in our bed. Like, why not just like make something honest about that, or like be more honest with that? Like, I wake up in the morning and I check TikTok, for instance, for like 30 minutes. That's like how I my body comes to,
Mhm.
is like checking the streams, checking the scrolls, um, and like why not just do something? So the bed PC sort of came out of that a little bit, like out of an attempt
Huh.
at honesty, and it's diverged in its entirety, right? Like now I'm like, now it's become this like crazy optimizing tool, um, but I think some of that is still there.
No, I think it is. You know, there's a kind of like perversity to what you're doing, which is like, you know, you're including the joy of the people you know and your life online and all of the work that you make on the screen. um, you know, you're including that joy in the same step that you're critiquing the fact that everything you do is in 10 by 12-foot room. And I think that's I just wish more art was like that. You know, that just as simple as that. Because I think there's joy in it, and there's also, it's like also servicing some really sinister ends at the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it was, what was the thing? I think I said, or you might have even said that the like there's something funny that when like an artist uses like a new tech like machine learning or something, and the like scientists are like, oh, it's so cool that an artist is using machine learning, like the thing they make is just like, I don't know, like the first ever collaboration between like AI and artists or something, like that's what it like rides on. And you're
Yeah,
just like
my mind just flashed on like the two hands, like uh like me. But yeah, keep going.
yeah, I mean like this happens I think quite a bit in both communities, right? Like with like tech slash science and art, because like scientists will, yeah, I don't know if it happens the other way around. I think the vector only like really usually goes from artist to science community, and it becomes this sort of like flat. I think, I mean like Claire
Yeah.
Bishop talks about shit like this all the time, just with a different
Yeah, I
uh
mean it makes both things static
yeah,
somehow. Yeah, I mean I think that's, you know, I think as it comes from a place of a like a deep mistrust of what art is able to do. You know, and in that text she says like, you know, art is good because it's a redistribution of the senses, or what is sensible and could be sensed. And you know, like you don't have to you, you don't have to explain that art does that while you make a piece of art. It just does that.
yeah,
And it just does that. And you know, the piece that I wrote that is not going to make it onto this round, but it'll make it onto the next round of essays that get posted. You know, I was sort of going over and thinking over the after geoengineering text that we went through as community, and um, that we were critical of what she was able to achieve with all these little like fiction pieces in this greater program. But it's, she kind of you know, showed her hands in a great way of just like what an artist really needs to be able to do. And like I think what she was doing by adding all those little short fiction pieces is like nodding towards a collaboration between scientists and artists that haven't happened yet, which
mm,
is one of you know, about human potential, not just referring to the fact that art and science happens at the same time.
right, right, yeah. I mean like a lot of the times like it feels like the collaboration between art and science uh, is to like facilitate like the necessity for one or the other.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, like whether it's like the art needs. God, I can't open this fucking Gatorade. I need my electrolytes. There we go.
Right,
Whether like the art needs some sort of funding, and because of this like funding necessity,
right.
it also needs to prove itself as like valuable, or the science is like too obscure, so it needs to like fit itself within some sort of like cultural referent, and therefore like art is the perfect vehicle for that.
Well,
And
it's
nothing
yeah,
interesting comes out of that usually, because like the goal of both of them is to like make the other exist.
right. Well, I've also been thinking about this in reference to like the tradition of illuminated manuscripts,
Oh, weird.
and like that this was sort of meant to augment the text, and the text is therefore greater because
Ah,
there's an illustration. And I think that like I guess to spin it in a hopeful direction, the fact that history and science and so on is able to take on this kind of augmented aesthetic dimension is, I guess, a win for humanity. It is kind of an embarrassing point for art, I guess. I wish for more.
yeah.
um, yeah,
I
so
mean,
that's
I just expect more, maybe too.
yeah. I mean, and I've had this conversation with different people, and somebody said to me, they were like, "What happens if you just stop calling it art?" Like, there's actually so much power, and it's not even say that's not art. Like, you just refuse, you just give it another name, and I think that might help us.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a lot of the times, a thing that I ran up against, and I think the first time that this happened was like when I had a studio visit with a friend, and I was in a phase of making art that I think sometimes go to, which is like, why don't I do something that is clearly not art, but like call it art and like see if meaning can be produced there, like just in
Right,
that like
right.
gesture of just calling it an artwork. Um, and I received a lot of resistance, and like, this wasn't a novel idea. I think artists have been doing this for fucking ever. Um, but like the resistance was like, what is the point of like situating it within art if like you can just do the thing, like it's fine, you don't, it doesn't need to be an artwork. And then my friend was like, oh yeah, like art oftentimes is like an excuse to do the thing that you were going to do anyways, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And in a lot of ways, like this bed PC is that, like I was on track to make bed PC at some point, regardless of whether or not I made it as an artwork. Um,
It's
Similarly,
just
like
bad. Just yeah, yeah.
I was gonna go skydiving, whether or not I made the skydiving work, right? Like, so,
Right.
and I'm okay with that. Like, I don't think that's a bad, like a negative thing, that like art as an excuse to do the thing you were gonna do anyways. I think it's kind of like empowering, personally. Um, it makes it easier to like want to do stupid shit, like I don't know, spend money on a bed PC or whatever, uh, because it like sort of releases the tension a little bit of like the stakes, and I don't know. There's levity in making artwork too. Like I can just, it can be a, I don't take myself entirely seriously all the time when I'm making work, because I don't think we should. Um, and when I allow myself to do something dumb, like make a bed PC or whatever, go skydiving, and call it art, it kind of, I don't know. I think it's, I'm losing my train of thought now,
Hmm.
but I'll end it there. I'll end that thought there.
I
Someone
should
said,
probably.
yeah, sure.
Oh yeah.
No,
Oh, I should go in a couple minutes.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's whenever. Someone asked, what do you think of the monetization of art and the art world's connection to investment bankers and market manipulation? Um,
Uh, I guess really quickly, there's a William Gaddis quote that Margot told me, and let's see if I get it right. Um, Trade ye no mere moneyed art. It's a palindrome. So go play with that for a little bit.
Yeah, tight. Thank you for that. I think that Brad does a lot of work to talk about monetization of art, and rather than me parroting it on my stream, um, watch any one of his videos about it, and that's how I feel too. Uh, that's the whole like read like the leftists go read a book about it answer. Um, well, thanks Abby for calling in, letting me rant for a minute. You're muted as you're talking.
I just said I hope you're doing well.
Thanks.
Art is real. God is real. I'll see you next week.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right. Thank you.
Bye, Fantastic.
Bye. The distance between my bed and my workstation is 2 feet. I could wake up and not touch the floor and get in my chair. For a while now, my life has existed in the vector of motion between my bed and my desk, where all my daily activity happens at these 2 points. Before, the studio was where the lines between art and gaming would blur, and occasionally waged work would make its way back. But ever since I've been working from home, a new player has entered the arena, so to speak. Work, art, gaming, pleasure, all of these things had collapsed into a single computer in my 10 by 12 foot bedroom, and switching between them only required to switch the way I would think about them. I had become optimized and my life had been made streamlined. But these 2 feet of space between my bed and my computer really felt inefficient. It felt like I needed to close that gap. So I did. I asked, what if it all collapsed? What if I could do all of this and not leave bed? What if I took the next step to optimize it? Bed PC is that next step. It is the attempt to close the gap. It's leading with the bed in the effort to fully transform the living conditions towards a borderless life of work, art, and play.